Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have an issue. Basically on this 1999 Astro van, it is a crank but no start issue. So the vehicle does turn over, but it doesn't start. So if you turn over the key and it sounds like this, then it is cranking, and we have one of two issues. It's either a fuel issue or a spark issue. One easy way to check is to grab some starter fluid, open up the hood, open up the air filter, and spray some starter fluid on the air filter. Close it back up, then turn the key over and see if it starts. If it starts, then most likely it is a fuel issue. But first, we're gonna check the fuel pressure. We are gonna replace the fuel filter, then recheck the fuel pressure and see if that helped any. And if that did help, most likely that was the issue. And if the fuel filter did not help, then your fuel pump is most likely going out. And if that's my case, then I'm gonna go ahead and change out the fuel pump in this video as well. So let's go ahead and start with checking the fuel pressure. So if you own a Chevy Astro or a GMC Safari, you will have a huge middle console here. I don't have that, so I can't really show you how to remove that. But when you get down to this column, there will be 2 bolts in the back, and I think 2 bolts right here. Obviously, people have been working on it before me, so all this is torn out. I guess they got irritated when they were tearing this out and broke everything. So get 15mm if you got down to this point, and there's 2 bolts in the back, and this thing should slide right out. So this is the bolt right here, so go ahead and break that loose. Pretty quick. Makes life a lot easier. Move that to the right. So go ahead and grab your fuel pressure kit. I got this off Amazon, and the link will be down below. What we are trying to get to is this right here. That is the line to the fuel rail. So go ahead and pop that cap off. The attachment that comes stock with this fits perfectly on this motor. So go ahead and tighten tight. So key in the ignition. It's supposed to be around 55 to 60. So let's go ahead and change out that fuel filter and see if that's the issue. I went ahead and got an AC Delco fuel filter, and I'm pretty sure the one underneath the car is OEM. Fuel filter will be on the driver's side, right underneath the car over here. So as you come underneath the van, the fuel filter will be right there. When you replace this fuel filter, there's going to be fuel leaking from this end and this end. So let's go ahead and grab a few towels and a catch can. So when you're underneath the car, go ahead and put some sort of goggles or glasses on, because you don't want this stuff in your eyes. That's the worst. So lefty loosey, righty tighty. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. So that's off. Now let's do this other side. Got it? Yeah. Now we need to remove this bolt. So I'm gonna guess this is a 1/2. Yep, that's right. Here's the old and here's the new. I always like to compare them two, and they are the same size. Looks to be same width on the nuts, so that's fantastic. And if you notice, the lip is going that way, so we're gonna the lip going that way with this fuel filter as well. Let's go ahead and put this guy in, and now I'm going to go ahead and screw this bolt back in. All right, so that's pretty tight on that side. So tighten this. There you go. Now the new fuel filter is in. Let's go check the fuel pressure. Checking out this gauge. Let it come back up. It's coming up again. So the fuel pressure is still just as low as it was. So that means we need to replace the fuel pump. So now we need to go after the fuel pump. Most cars in today's day and age, they have a hole above the fuel pump. These older cars, most of them do not. What you're supposed to do when you change your fuel pump out of these Astro vents is to drop the tank, and I don't want to do that. So instead, we are going to cut a hole almost directly above the fuel pump, and then I'm going to cover the hole with a piece of metal. So then if we ever have another fuel pump issue, I can just easily replace it, because I'm going to rib nut some bolts into the new sheet and place it over the hole like the hole was never there. Now, since we are cutting the floor pan of the van above the fuel tank, I'm not going to use any jigsaw or anything of that nature. I am going to use a drill bit to drill a hole, so I then get these 18 gauge clippers into the hole and cut a hole for the fuel pump. But in order to do that, and if you're doing it at home, you want to know where to start the cut. I got my trusty measuring tape, and I'm going to show you where to cut. So you want to cut just about right there, where the seat used to mount, between this guy right here. And I'm just going to start the hole right there. I made an X for it, okay? Let's measure how far that is. So I'm going to measure at the direct bottom. That's where I'm going to start the measurement. So 69 inches from the length of the van, but from the wall of the van is 21. So that's where you can find the perfect hole right there. And of course, you want to disconnect the battery. Now I'm going to drill a hole just big enough I can get these snips in there. Be sure you take it easy and don't go balls to the wall, because there is a gas tank underneath there. Now, let's see how these cut. So I'm going to cut down this way, then that way. When you're using these, you really want to get underneath there and dig inside there. When you're doing this, be careful for all this. It's going to be sharp, and if you slip your hand, it will split your hand right wide open. And you come a bit farther out. If you see me kind of wedging the metal up and down, I'm basically getting more room to bring the clippers further up. So these two go in for this one. Be careful for this metal. Gas squirts out, forgot about that. I think I just didn't get my cut. That would have felt great. Make this easier to clean up if I do right now. Move that one out the way. So there's two buttons, bottom and top. Squeeze them both and push outwards. Be careful again for the metal. This one you're supposed to squeeze as tight as you can and contort that piece of plastic so it becomes an oval and not a circle, so it comes out. There you go. That took some maneuvering right there. All right, so now push these back kind of out of the way. And we are now going to start to remove this. So let's clean up the surroundings so no gunk is into the gas tank. I almost cut myself again. Gloves would be ideal. I just don't have any at this very second. So if you went on Amazon or whatever, you should find some pliers, like needle nose pliers with ends that look like this, pretty pointy tipped ends. I don't have them, so I'm just using my the tips from my voltmeter. If you look closely, right here, there's a hole there, and there's a hole there. So what you need to do is get the needle nose pliers, AKA these guys, put them right side of here. This ring will come out. There you go. So now you have this out. Just clean this even further. You really don't want much gunk going inside of there. Now you just pull this straight out. I say it like it's easy, but it's gonna need some maneuvering. There you go. So I like to look into the gas tank and see how clean or dirty it is. Looks fairly clean. It definitely has some grime in there. Could use a cleaning. I don't think it's that dirty. All right, so whenever you're replacing parts, you should always make sure that it's the same thing. And definitely looks the same thing. Just have to install this float. Pretty dang easy. Just like that. Has a new gasket. It goes around the hole just like so. This gasket is not fitting for my application, so I'm just gonna use the old gasket. It seems to be in pretty good condition still. Push it down. I squeeze it with my hand to get these 3. Now I'm gonna push down and get the other 2 hooks up here. Now, if you have a newer Astro van, your mechanism to do this would be a lot easier. Ugh. There you go, finally got it. Now we need to take these guys off and put them back on here. So this kind of clips onto there. So you need to pick up these clips right here, and then come out. It'll come right off. Same thing here. Now let's plug them back in. So the fuel pump is now in. Now we need to see what the fuel pressure gauge says. So it won't work right away because we need to make sure we pressurize the system. So let's go ahead and start doing that. It's going up. Went up, went all the way up to 55. There you go. Previously, it was only at 44 PSI, but now it's at 56. It should start right up. It's dead, but I have a jumper. 1 second. Started right up. That is so relieving. But I knew that was the issue, so it's not that relieving. I'm just happy, finally got it done. And there's the PSI, it's at 55. That's exactly where you want it to be. Now, since we have this hole cut out, we are gonna cover it so we can have easy access in the future. I bought a piece of steel from Lowe's, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark the steel, then cut it. I'm gonna leave an inch outside of the hole so I can tap in some holes and some screws so I can bolt it down. I'm gonna use an angle grinder, and I've already marked the spot right here, so I'm just gonna go straight across with the angle grinder. Go ahead and use some gloves and eye protection. So now we need to drill holes on all 4 corners. So for the rivets, I'm using M4, and it should fit perfectly in that hole, and it does. So this is what I'm using. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hammer this flat. That's good enough. This piece of metal above it. Now let's mark these spots. All right, so I was afraid this one might not go in correctly, and it kind of went in sideways because I did drill this one through the frame just a little bit by accident, but it went in and it's fine. Now I'm gonna go ahead and install this one. Screw it on just like so. Put it in the hole. Now you unscrew. I keep getting metal stuck in here, so be sure if you're doing this at home to remove all that metal. So I first drilled holes up here and holes over here, and as I pressed up, this metal pulled the bolts right out of the dang holes and killed those threads. So now I'm just doing these 2 holes, both on the elevated surfaces. So hopefully I won't have any more issues. All right, that's it. All right, so now the fuel issue and the new cover is finished. I wish the cover came out just a bit better than what actually came out, but now you at home will know what to do different. Use bigger bolts, bigger rib nuts. I just used smaller ones, and it just didn't work well. So make sure that you drill the holes and put the rib nuts on a flat surface, that like the raised up parts, and you should be good. So I obviously did not do that. So when I bent the steel, it just popped the bolts right out of the rib nuts and took out the threads with it. So that's not fun, but I'm glad I got that done. Just have 2 bolts in there, which I'm okay with because I'm gonna end up putting a whole piece of plywood over this for the flooring of the camper van whenever I start building it. So I'm okay with that. I'm sure you're wondering, why am I not putting paint on it yet? Well, that's because I'm gonna end up having to de-rust the whole floor pan. So when I do that, I will put paint on the open metal then. It's not getting wet anytime soon because it's in my garage. So I'm not too worried about it, and I should be de-rusting the whole back of the van within the next week. But guys, go ahead and like the video, subscribe. We are gonna end up tearing apart the front interior, taking out the seats, cleaning them up. We're gonna steam clean them, I think. Then the dash up there is pretty busted up, so I'm gonna replace the dash and a whole bunch of other stuff. The windshield is gonna be replaced. It's gonna be fun stuff. So the van is coming along slowly but surely, and it's very exciting. So this is Chris with AutoMotivate. Always appreciate one another. I'll see you next time.